Big moves coming out of Miami. Zach Sieler just got the extension he absolutely deserved. For a long time, fans have been asking, when will the Dolphins reward their defensive leader? Well, now it's official. Zach Sieler, the heartbeat of this defense, has secured a 3-year extension worth up to $67.75 million, with $44 million guaranteed. That keeps him in Aqua and Orange for the next 5 seasons. Last year, Sieler was not just consistent, he was dominant. A captain, a tone setter, a game changer. And locking him in long term? That's the kind of move that sends a message to the entire league. Miami is serious about contending. Before we jump into more details, if you're a real Dolphins fan, hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and don't forget the bell so you never miss breaking Dolphins updates like this one. Now let's get back to the news. This extension isn't just about rewarding Sieler. It's also a smart, strategic investment. With the defensive line looking sharp and continuity being key, locking up your anchor makes perfect sense. His old deal had him drastically underpaid, only around $8 minus $10 million over the next 2 years. Now, Miami gives him what he's earned. We're still waiting on the full contract breakdown, but based on early reports, this deal was structured to reflect both his on-field dominance and his leadership in the locker room. And remember, keeping foundational players like Sieler happy and committed is how winning cultures are built. The numbers are in, and while Zach Sieler's extension came in a bit higher than expected, it's a smart move that actually frees up $5.5 million in cap space right now. That's critical, because Miami might not be done making moves this offseason. With flexibility created, something interesting could be on the horizon. Now let's talk production, and let's talk facts. For the second year in a row, Sieler racked up double-digit sacks. That's not a fluke. That's dominance. And this time, he did it without Christian Wilkins next to him. Remember, there were serious questions after Wilkins left for Vegas. Could Sieler still be that guy without him? He answered with a resounding yes. Back in the day, Sieler was viewed as a solid depth piece, a high motor guy who could plug a gap. But in 2023, something clicked. 10 sacks. Total disruption. And in 2024, he proved it wasn't a one-hit wonder. Another 10-sack season, over 15 games, playing through pain, showing up every week. That's not just a star. That's a foundation piece. This guy is no diva. No excuses. No soft mindset. He's the exact opposite of what some critics accused the Dolphins locker room of being last year. In fact, when former players took shots at Miami's toughness, nobody could ever point to Sieler, because he's the kind of player you win with. Hard-nosed, dependable, and respected inside that building. Good teams build their identity around guys like this. Draft, develop, extend. That's the formula. And for all the splashy trades Miami has made over the years, some hit, some didn't. This move feels different. It's not about hype. It's about rewarding homegrown excellence and reinforcing a winning culture. Zach Sieler isn't just a key to the defense. He's part of the Dolphins' DNA now. We've seen teams around the league take big swings on superstar trades. And sometimes it works. But timing is everything. Miami brought in elite names like Tyreek Hill and Bradley Chubb. And yes, they've been difference makers. But when you trade for high-profile veterans, it's usually because you're already one step away, just a few plays from a Super Bowl. That's when bold, win now moves truly pay off. Look around the league. Last year, Washington surprised everyone. A great draft pick in Jaden Daniels, homegrown talents like McLaurin, and a hungry young core. They built momentum, reached the NFC Championship, then looked to add big names to push even further. That's the model. Miami, on the other hand, went all in before fully building from within. That's what made the Zach Sieler extension so important. This isn't about flash. This is about sustainability. Draft, develop, extend. That's how true contenders are built. At 28 years old, Sieler is still in his prime. With 5 more years now locked in, there's a strong chance he'll finish his career in a Dolphins uniform. And if he continues on this trajectory, double-digit sacks, leadership, durability, who knows? He might earn another deal down the road, and Dolphins fans would welcome it. He's not just part of the plan, he is the plan. And while we'll talk soon about what Miami might do next, especially with the $5.5 million in cap space this extension created, let's take a moment to appreciate what this really means. The Dolphins are finally starting to invest long-term in the right kind of players. From the very beginning, it was clear if the Dolphins were going to extend Zach Sieler, it had to happen before the season kicked off. And now that it's done, Miami has a golden window of opportunity, more cap space, and a chance to make another key addition before week 1. So where should the Dolphins look next? Let's not ignore the obvious. Cornerback remains a serious concern. The unit is thin, depth is shaky, and if Miami wants to contend deep into the season, it can't afford to roll into the year with question marks on the outside. Now, fans have floated other positions too. Tight end, for instance. But that market? Dry. With Darren Waller not yet taking reps and the rest of the group offering little more than blocking support. It's a weak spot, no question. Still, unless something unexpected happens via trade, it's unlikely Miami makes a splash at tight end. Corner, though? That's a different story. The free agent pool still includes legit talent. While some names have faded from the conversation, 3 veterans stand out as plug-and-play options who could bring stability and leadership to the back end of this defense. With the cap space open from the Sieler deal, a move is not just possible, it's practical. Because here's the truth. Miami's cornerback room needs help. There's young talent, sure, but there's also risk, inconsistency, and a lack of veteran depth. If the front office wants to maximize this team's defensive potential, especially with Sieler and others in their prime, they need to fortify that secondary. With training camp heating up and preseason around the corner, the clock is ticking. The foundation is strong. Now it's time to finish the build. The Dolphins' secondary is facing serious questions, and time is running out to find answers before week 1. Let's start with Jack Jones. He's flashed potential, there's no denying that. In practice, you see the instincts, the speed, the swagger. But the problem? Risk-taking. Too often, he jumps routes, bites on fakes, and the result is brutal. A deep 40 or 50-yard touchdown over the top. In a league where one mistake can flip the scoreboard, that kind of inconsistency is dangerous. Then there's Storm Duck, who's had a solid camp and even earned orange jersey honors in a recent practice. He's growing, but can Miami really rely on a second-year undrafted player to hold down a starting corner spot, especially against the elite receivers they'll face right out the gate? And the bad news doesn't stop there. Kader Kohou, the Dolphins' most reliable corner, is out for the year with a torn ACL. That's a massive blow to a defense already in flux. The silver lining? Mike Hilton, Miami's replacement in the slot, is no gamble. He's a proven vet, one of the best nickel corners in the NFL over the last 5 to 7 seasons. Physical, relentless, a real tone setter. He tackles, he blitzes, he plays like every snap matters. And that's something this secondary desperately needs. But let's be honest, even with Hilton, this group needs help on the outside. And it looks like Miami knows it. Behind the scenes, there's growing buzz that the Dolphins are re-engaging talks with Rasul Douglas, a seasoned, physical corner who could be the missing piece. This isn't a new pursuit. Miami brought him in for a visit immediately after the draft, made him a contract offer, and kept the door open. Now, with the season approaching and the cornerback depth stretched thin, don't be surprised if Miami sweetens that offer and gets it done. Because if this team wants to start hot and stay hot, locking down the perimeter is priority number 1. A few weeks ago, Miami made an offer, and the response was simple: no. It wasn't enough. But after some key injuries shook up the depth chart, they circled back with another proposal. Still, it wasn't accepted. According to reports, including one from Josina Anderson, the player in question is weighing multiple offers from NFL teams and holding out for the right fit and the right payday. Now here's where it gets interesting for the Dolphins. Thanks to the recent Zach Sieler extension, Miami just freed up $5.5 million in cap space. That opens the door to re-enter the conversation, especially with the team still looking to add depth at cornerback. There are a few names that have come up. Rasul Douglas? The numbers tell the story. 5 touchdowns allowed, a 124 passer rating when targeted. That's not what you want on the outside. Despite previous interest, Douglas struggled badly in coverage last season. So if Miami's serious about improving the secondary, there are 2 other names worth considering. Stephen Gilmore. Yes, he's 34, but his coverage metrics last season were still better than Douglas. He may not be prime Gilmore, but he'd step in as the best boundary corner on the roster day one. Asante Samuel Jr., arguably the most talented of the 3. He's just 25, full of upside. But there's a catch. He's coming off a neck/shoulder surgery from April. Reports suggested a medical checkup would happen in July, but we've heard nothing since. That silence is concerning, especially since he remains unsigned despite his youth and raw ability. Miami already expressed interest in Samuel Jr. earlier this offseason. And now, with financial flexibility, they could revisit the conversation if the medicals check out. This secondary could benefit tremendously from a physical, aggressive corner who can play man-to-man and hold his own against elite wideouts. If the Dolphins want to make a legitimate push in the AFC, upgrading the cornerback room is one of the final pieces. With the window wide open, the next few days could be critical.